In this video, we're going to be talking about the use of pop culture in history classes. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the use of the Harry Potter series and understanding the medieval world. Now, I know what you're thinking. The medieval elements in Harry Potter are obvious, so why have an entire class on the subject?
They go to school in a magical castle. That's it. The end. That's all there is. Okay, I'm kidding. There's a lot more to it than that. It's a more complex idea.
Harry Potter is a window, not only to the medieval world, but to our perceptions of it. And that is what makes pop culture such a useful teaching tool. I mean, let's face it, if you live in North America, your connection to medieval history is going to be a bit more abstract. It's not like we're tripping over medieval ruins in our everyday lives, but we can read, and we can imagine, and we can make connections between what we're reading and this history. Things that we see in books and movies help us to better understand real medieval elements when we come across them in a different context. From knightly orders to magical medicine, J.K. Rowling draws heavily on the medieval. Even small details like the chained books in the restricted section, that's medieval. Granted, there are some issues that come up with this sort of teaching style. Even if we ignore for a second the issues that the author brings to this discussion, anytime you put the name of something like Harry Potter into a course title, you will without a doubt end up with students who believe that the course is going to be easy. This is a worrying problem because these students are likely to cause issues when they realize that this isn't the case. The only real solution to this problem is to be very clear from the beginning that the pop culture source is a tool, not the main focus of the class. A class that uses Harry Potter as a source is probably going to be questioned from an academic standpoint at one point or another. But that does not minimize its importance. A series that has such a diverse fan base, like Harry Potter, is ideal because most people have at least a passing knowledge of the material. This familiarity allows for the confronting of the various stereotypes that appear in the work, as well as opening the discussion on why these ideas persist. While stereotypes do make an appearance in Harry Potter, it can be contrasted by the various factual elements that are also embedded into the work. This mixing of elements makes Harry Potter ideal for this type of study, alongside medieval sources. Another idea that comes up often in the study of medievalism and the medieval world using these sources of pop culture is the idea of romantic and grotesque medievalism. Unfortunately, these are always going to be a part of these works. No matter how many medieval elements you pull out of the world of Harry Potter, it's still going to be the story of a boy who finds out he has magical powers and goes to school in a magical castle, hidden away with the rest of the wizarding world. These romantic elements persist, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem. It may be less factual, but it's a perfect example of how pop culture deals with medieval world. Besides, if we're going to get rid of all ideas of romantic medievalism, we couldn't study things like Le Morte d'Arthur, one of the most famous fan fictions of King Arthur. But all jokes aside here for a minute, Harry Potter is a great entry point to medieval studies. Using such a familiar work is a great and practical way to grab attention and draw students to the class, where then you can foster a deeper interest. Next thing you know, those students will then spend the next 4 years at university working towards a medieval and medievalism studies degree, and sometimes even on top of their own original degree program. True story, by the way. Okay, that was my last joke. I swear. The point is, pop culture sources like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and even video games have a lot to offer to medieval studies, and it would be a shame if we disregarded them just because they're unconventional. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.